Hello friends, today I bring you an updated Awakening Witch PvE guide. In this video, I'll provide a general class explanation, what to lock and which skills to learn, explain how to combo efficiently, show add-ons, and give other useful information. As for any spot-by-spot changes, they will be shown and explained in the spot-specific videos I will make, all already made prior to this one. After our recent buff, you no longer need to juggle casting speed buffs, since Voltaic Pulse provides a 20% casting speed buff now with 100% uptime, which makes Speed Spell only useful if you need the movement speed buff. Our E buff should be used like normal, either outside of BSR if you're grinding a high-end spot like Darkseeker, User Heat or similar, or just on cooldown if you're grinding anything lower end, including Dekia 1 and mid-game spots. For pack-to-pack movement, most of the time you would use a single or double teleport, since most spots don't have that great of a travel distance between the packs. To go behind the mobs, the safest is our magical evasion, since it provides a full PvE iframe as well. For some spots, you could also use elementalization, but for most packs the travel distance is just too high. We also have our long CD party teleports, which you can also use alone. But to my knowledge, you cannot fast cast it, making it quite useless beyond very niche cases. For skill enhancements, I would suggest just picking these. Shift X is a good fast heal, and Shift Z is a vacuum. However, we don't really use Swift Earthquake in PvE outside of Dekia Thornwood, so there's that. Now then, for the skills you want to lock. There aren't many. First of all is the pet summons. You lock them both and put them on your hotbar, just so you don't fat finger them mid-grind. I also like to keep the Q block locked as well, since if I'm not really paying attention, it can sometimes cancel thorns, which loses a good chunk of its already pretty pathetic amount of damage. As for summons, as I said earlier, remember to put at least one of them on your hotbar, as having it up during grind is a must-have. I personally prefer Gore, since he's super cute, but generally it doesn't matter, since they buff each other's elements as well. So as long as you have one of them out, you're good. Anyways, here's the general add-ons. This is what I'm currently using for grinding. You can swap around depending on the spot if you'd like, but those work extremely well for every grind spot, be that early, mid or late game. There are quite a few cancels for Awakening, and here's the currently known full list by my homie Naro. But only a few of those are relevant in PvE, which is what we're covering today. You want to always cast Toxic Flood while moving, since that way the animation is close to instant, allowing you to continue doing DPS a lot faster. Another useful cancel is stopping magical evasion midway with either Lightning Blasts, Thunderstorm or Fissure. Thorns of Denial also cast a little bit faster after Voltaic. Now then, let's talk about combo. As many of you already know, Witch doesn't follow set combos due to the nature of the class being a lot more efficient with priority list instead. There has already been an insane number of Infinite Awake Witch combo videos, and if you're using one of them at the moment, my condolences. Most of those rely on using very low DPS skills just so they can be called infinite combos, making them incredibly inefficient. Anyways, enough yapping, let's get to button pressing. Similar to Succession, we split our skills into 3 tiers, going by their priority. The first tier consists of Toxic Flood, Voltaic, and Lightning Blast. Toxic Flood does an insane amount of DPS, while also DP debuffing the mobs inside of it. Voltaic gives us a 20% casting speed buff, and Lightning Blast gives us an 18% crit rate buff. All of those are pretty much the highest priority, meaning regardless of where you are in the rotation, if any of those come off cooldown and the mobs aren't at like basically 0 health, you use them again. Second tier is our normal DPS skills. They don't really have a big difference in priority between them, since you will be cycling through most of them each rotation, so you are free to use them in whichever order you prefer. However, going by DPS, the priority would look something like this. In the add-ons I showed before, I have crit damage on Fissure and back attack damage on Thunderstorm and Equilibrium. So for me, it makes sense to use Fissure right after the first 3, followed by Thunderstorm, and then the rest. Our last tier is basically fillers, which don't have that good of a DPS, but are still there to fill in the gaps, in case everything else is on cooldown. And those skills are Thorns of Denial, Detonative Flow, and the Magnus skill. As mentioned earlier, Thorns is actually pretty okay DPS when used after Voltaic, so if you know you will absolutely have to use it at some point to not run out of skills, for example at Dekia owns, then after Voltaic Pulse is the only time I would consider using that skill. As you can see, the prio list is super simple for Awakening, and even if you don't strictly follow it, as long as you keep Voltaic, Blast, and Toxic Flood on cooldown, you should be good. If you want to check out some more Awakening Witch gameplay, I already uploaded Orzekia and Darkseekers after the buffs, and I'm planning to check out some other spots as well. Anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, or join the Discord, where I can get back to you faster. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one!